You got me in frame now? Do you? Man, I hope so. Sterling wanted to hear about my first motorcycle journey. And we're down in the swamp playing Anything Goes, and it's up in the woods where the mountain goes. Here we go. So, anyway, I hope, you don't know how many times I've went through and my phone quits recording and then it films it in warp speed, or then I don't know. It either films it real in double time, and then while it's filming it in double time, it turns around and then slows it down. So I done made this video once. Let's see if I can make it again. You got it going now. I hope you do. Y'all don't know who I'm arguing with. I'm only arguing with myself. Do you ever see anybody else in these videos? So in 20, let's start this story. And hope the camera works. Hopefully. If it don't, I may be doing this again. I need Steven Spielberg's money. So in November 2019, pictured if you will, a young, thinner hooligan that I was. By the way, Trisha also gave me that name. My best friend, who was also a massage therapist, is also a massage therapist, Trisha. Her and her husband have been riding the bike rallies on the motorcycle I have now. Well, she wanted a Harley motorcycle because she didn't like riding on that Honda. They didn't even know that the shocks would adjust. And I've told this story before, but let's see if I can tell it again for the camera, see if I get it recorded. So around November 2020, I said 2019 a while ago, and but around 2020 they decided to sell it. So between November 2020 and December 2020, the 20th of December 2020, I turned around and bought that motorcycle. I was a fry cook at the Great Little Seafood Place. See if any of you know what that means. A lot of you blue hairs out there might know it, because we sure did cook a lot for you, especially on Sundays and on every time you got your Social Security checks. So I bought that motorcycle. Young, dumb, and stupid as I was, I grew up watching motorcycles as much as anybody else. You know, I watched them on TV. I watched them in movies. Harley Davidson, the Marlboro Man. I loved that story between him and Virginia. Between that and Urban Cowboy, that's one of the greatest love stories there was. So I wanted to ride a motorcycle. My Uncle Don, when I was a kid, rode motorcycles. And my Uncle Randall, a man that my Aunt Diane used to be married to, I ain't bragging. You know, she might get mad about me because she denies she was ever married to him. I thought he was the coolest thing I ever seen. He was covered in tattoos, and he drove a hearse as a daily driver. He had an old AMC Javelin. He had a couple old trucks and a lot of old muscle cars and motorcycles. He also, like I said, drove a hearse, lived in a cabin out in the woods, and had raccoons as pets. I thought, man, my little 12-year-old brain just blew my mind. And so I was always hooked from then on out about riding motorcycles. And then if some of y'all will picture SummerSlam and wrestling on WWF at the time, before it was WWE, the Road Warriors, the Legion of Doom, Hawk and Animal, they rode out. I believe they was the first wrestlers to ever ride out on motorcycles at a pay-per-view. And I always wanted one. I grew up watching Renegade, you know, American Chopper and Jesse James and Indian Larry and Billy Lane. And my mama would buy me little motorcycle models. I was really big into motorcycles, and I had all the posters with all the half-naked women on there. But I did the responsible thing, like a good hooligan should, and I turned around and I went to the MFS course in Steele, Alabama, a suburb of Birmingham. Some of y'all gonna argue with me over that. Okay, we don't have to be geographically correct or just to be here. But it was in a very bad neighborhood at the Steele Harley Davidson motorcycle dealership. At one time, this might earn me a subscription. At one time, I did ride a Harley Davidson. It was a Harley Davidson 500, but I rode one. And I crashed one, so that should at least get me another subscription there. So they said, quote unquote, I dropped their motorcycle too hard. Now, I had my motorcycle at home, and I didn't know how to ride it. Maybe I shouldn't have started down on 1100, because I dropped that thing a couple of times and I bent the levers, and I went and eventually got me some crash bars, but I don't like chrome, so there's still chrome on that bike. But I went over to Randy Robertson and got the bars chrome. I'm trying to tell this as I can remember it. Still, but I didn't get them put on there right away. And nobody offered to help me ride it. I watched a couple of YouTube things, and then I figured it out for myself. So, looks like we're still recording. Maybe we are. Maybe I'll get all these stories out before the phone cuts off. So, I went down to the MFS course, and I know this was on a Saturday. And I know it was on, I believe it was on a Saturday, yeah. And I know it was before 1 o'clock because I didn't get my refund back from my deposit on my hotel room, which was also shot up. The hotel room I was at was full of holes, but I didn't know what it was, you know. I'm just dumb and country and ignorant. No, I figured it might have been a sign that they had there, you know, like the name of the hotel, not like I saw the sign and it opened up my eyes. No, not like that. It was like a sign advertising the hotel. I thought they might have ripped it off the wall and had a bunch of holes there, and that was all the connecting holes because they just had holes caulked up full of holes. So I asked the dude over at the MFS course, I was like, man, what that hotel got all them holes in the walls for? On the outside of the hotel, by the way, not inside the room. He said, oh, yeah, they had a domestic disturbance over there about a week ago, and the cop got shot and killed. That's the room I was staying in. So I was over at the MFS course, people keep telling me I'm pronouncing it wrong. Maybe my dyslexia kicks in. I do have brain damage. No, it ain't from illicit drug activity. I don't live a colorful life anymore. So I ran through their little hedge bushes. I got target fixation. That's the wrong thing to ever get on a motorcycle. So I got target fixation. And I was running headlong, looking at the wall. Don't ever look at what you want. Don't ever look where you don't want to go. A motorcycle will follow your eyes. It ain't like a car. If you get your target fixation, you're going to crash. And I did. They have those motorcycles governed around 50 miles an hour. You ain't going no faster than that. But I hauled it all full throttle up to 50. And I smacked it off went through the shrub bushes, and I hit the wall head on. I broke the crash bars off of it. I broke the turn signals off of it. I broke the headlight off of it, and I tore that bike all to pieces. Bent the handlebars. I bent the whole nine deal. And they were mad. They said, quote unquote, you dropped the bike too hard. But I had sense enough, and I've never been on a bike before, but I had sense enough. Maybe it was from watching Big John Studd on Harley Davidson and Marlboro Man slide when he blowed up the armored truck. I kept my head off the ground, and I just slid in my cheap little leather Amazon jacket and the cheap gloves that my sister got me. Y'all go back and watch my glove video. I explained that a little bit. And I slid across the parking lot, but that made them mad. And I think that's one reason why I tore up their bike. And I think that's one reason why they wouldn't let me continue the course. They said, well, you need to go over to our doctor. They didn't know about my Wilbanks hard head. They said, you need to go over to our doctor and have your head examined. I got a hard head. And I never hit my head. I was fine. I jumped up. I dusted myself off. I'm like, well, damn, that didn't work. So, and everybody over there was running to me like, oh. People panic too much. I got up. I was ready to go back. What happens when you get thrown off the horse, you get back up on it. So they told me no, they wasn't gonna, even if I went to their doctor, they wasn't going to let me go through the course. Well, I lost $350 on that course. I believe that's what it was. Check your local state and municipalities. I may be wrong. I went home, and I bet you're going to think, well, I went home and I just automatically learned how to ride. My mama lives has a gravel driveway. Worst thing to ever learn how to ride in. And if you're in the South, brother, y'all know chert. Chert hurts. It ain't just like blue gravel. It ain't river rock. It's chert. But I would put that bike in first gear. I wouldn't give it no gas. This ain't none of this exciting. Ain't none of this, glamorous. Even though I'm a big YouTube star. Let me bask in my fame. I'm going to influence y'all, and I hope that I don't. Don't let my bad decisions make. I ain't responsible for you anyway. I'm trying to get that out. So I would take and walk that bike, and I say walk it because I didn't ride it. I never gave it no gas, and I would sit there and play with the clutch, and I'd ride my niece's bicycle, and because she's the tallest one of all the kids, so I'd ride her bicycle till I figured out how to get the balance on that thing. Well, once I got enough courage and got enough hair on my short and curlies, I was like, well, what are you going to do? Let's go. I bought this thing. I want to ride it. And maybe I shouldn't have learned how to ride on 1100, but I did it. Should you do it? hey, use your own discretion. So I had an abandoned gas station that I wanted to, the whole, I'll explain to you this in a minute. I can talk around circles, but I'll get to the point eventually. If I don't, y'all call me out on it. So there was an abandoned gas station over at Chambers that I wanted to get over to. And I would ride over there. I would ride a mile every day. Down the road, down past the chicken houses, turn around, come back. I wiped out there because in Alabama, gravel is never where you need it. We got gravel in the weirdest places around here. Because there's, I don't know why, but there's always just like gravel and chert and road pine needles and grass and everything in the road. Not to mention the dogs. There was a story one time where I was riding and about 6 pit bulls tried to pull my leg off, and I ran that stop sign, or did I? But to keep them dogs from eating me, 6 pit bulls out there. There's fighting dogs around this neighborhood. So anyway, every day I'd go about another mile further, another mile further, another mile further until I got it. And I'd start going up through the gears. You know, I started out first, second, third. My bike's 5 or 4 with the top gear, ever how you want to explain it. I call it 5. And went over to Randy Robertson and I got him to paint the crash bars, powder coat them because they was chrome and I didn't want chrome on it, I wanted black. And I don't remember when I got them put on there, but I was riding behind a car one time in a curved bridge. We have an actual bridge down here. It's in a curve. It's a bridge. The bridge is curved. And a tailpipe fell off a car and actually hit me in the shin and my leg fell up under the bike. That's when I had pegs on it before I put the floorboards on it. And my leg went under and almost got caught under my rear tire. I had to grab with my free hand or left hand and throw my leg back up on the peg. If any of you ever ride those Honda Shadows, you don't know about the pegs. Yeah, so I'm almost crashed the bike there. I could have a panic. I've had to break the bike loose a couple of times to ride it as well. There was one time a car, the only way I could keep from hitting him is I had to slam the rear brake to break the back end loose, make it slide and drift on purpose, was because he pulled out right in front of me and he went by and I missed him by that much, and I was so close that I raced up there and slapped the trunk. That's how close I was to the car. And I rode through 2 floods. I went up through Mentone and rode up that way in a flood in Somerville. And then I was riding out across Galesville and got in a flood. I mean, when I say flood, I had to turn around on one of them because I noticed that there was a car beside me, but it had been parked in this guy's yard and it was floating down the ditch. And all of a sudden I noticed the ditch banks were filling up full of water. And so I had to make a quick turnaround, and I stopped in time to tell this little girl in a Honda Civic, hey, lady, don't go that way, you're going to drown. Let's get the hell out of there. And it was just like a movie. The ditches were filling up full of water on both sides, and I had to haul it through her. But anyway, another reason why I wanted to learn how to ride other than watching TV shows is because I thought Trisha and Jimmy wanted to ride with me, but they changed their mind, and they didn't want to be part of it anymore. And I had a goal that I wanted to go to Hogfest. I'm jumping around all over the place, but y'all know how I do when I do my videos. But so I went up to Hogfest. They was supposed to go with me, but they didn't. Got up there at Hogfest and it was just pouring down and beat the band. I met an old biker up there and his old lady, Dave, and he rode, I believe it was a Suzuki Intruder, I believe is what he had. And he fed me in bear bologna and kept me alive. And he took me up through Pelham over to the Dixie Diner, and we got breakfast and rode back down some mountain roads. I'd never been on a bike before. I started that MFS course in January, and I had to go wherever, I think Memorial Day's in May. So I wanted to learn how to ride by then because I was, like I said, Jimmy and them had the trip planned till I guess they didn't think I was actually going to ever learn how to ride a motorcycle, but I did. And then they changed their plans. Didn't want me to ride. Didn't want to ride with me. But I went on anyway because that was my goal. So like I said, I went up around Pell's Gap. It's not Tail of the Dragon, but it's pretty close to Tail of the Dragon. Where we live at, it's got some really, really hairpin nasty curves on it. One of them curves I like to say where if you don't pay attention to what you're doing, you're going to meet yourself coming back while you're going up. And so I learned how to ride on curves and how to lean in curves there. And eventually I did get them crash bars put on it. But I went up to Pelham, and it's just right before you get to Nashville. If you come up from Chattanooga, or if you come up from South Pittsburgh, Tennessee, never been on a bike that long a distance before. Never been. That's the first time I left the state on a motorcycle, and it's an hour and a half drive from here, which I know don't sound like nothing, but when you ain't never been on a bike before, went up there and it just rained to beat the band. That's Hog Fest. It's not Hog Rock like the other one. There's two bike rides that have similar names. This is Hog Fest. I don't even know if they still have it up there. It was on Memorial Day weekend. I seen a big old gal up there. She weighed about 400 pounds. She won the stripping contest up there when she danced on the pole. And let me tell you, you ain't never lived till you've seen a big old girl dance to Crazy Bitch. She won the contest. But, I mean, it was raining to beat the band. Good Lord, it was raining so hard. And I got sick of it. And I was like, man, I'm just done with this. I told Dave, I said, I'm out. And I left on Saturday. It was supposed to stay. I stayed from Thursday till Saturday. And I was like, I had enough. I mean, it was raining hard. My tent kept getting full of water. And I was out. So I rode back down Mont Eagle. Some of you truck drivers know what I'm talking about. I rode back down through Mont Eagle. Lane splitting at 80 mile an hour because I just wanted to get home. I mean, it was blinding, pouring, soaking rain. And I had my Nelson Rig rain gear on, not sponsored. Still have that rain gear to this day, 4 years later. And this was all around 2021, so maybe 3 years later. But I come back going in between these big 18-wheelers, and I was just hauling it right down on the yellow line, buddy. I was ready to get home. I was going to go to Nashville up to Cooters, but it was raining so hard, I was like, forget it. It was either an hour and a half drive to Nashville in the rain, or it was an hour and a half go back to the house. I was right there in the middle. I was like, I'm just going to go back to the house. I'm done with this rain. And that's the first time I ever rode in a storm, ever. That's the first rain experience I ever had riding a motorcycle. So I did that all on my own with no help but me. And I taught myself how to ride. Like I said, I mean, I dropped that bike a couple of times. I broke my ankle actually on that motorcycle by parking it. I have no shame in my game. I'll tell you what, there's three kinds of bikers. Those that drop it, those that will drop it, and them that lie about it. I went over there back to where I used to grow up with my sister's daddy and all his people. And there's an old store building over there that's falling in. I wanted to take a picture of her, but I didn't know the ground was soft. So as soon as I put the kickstand down, the bike fell, and when it did, that bike weighs right around 800 pounds. Somebody will correct me. And that bike, every bit of that weight, my ankle was like right there, and when my ankle went this way, bent. I didn't go to the doctor because I didn't have insurance. It was around January, I started everything in January. I've rode in the cold. And my ankle broke. So I had to ride home with a broken ankle. My ankle was swelling up. And it was also on the leg that I nearly lost due to cellulitis. I've had a lot of trouble out of that leg, still have trouble out of it, have nerve damage and tissue damage in that leg to this day from my health, being bad. But that motorcycle saved my life. It saved my bacon. It gave me something to do besides sitting around eating. And, it really did. When I say that, y'all that don't ride, I don't know, y'all don't understand us, and y'all think we're crazy. But when I tell you that I need to ride, it ain't just like, oh, I need to ride. I need to. It keeps my sanity. As cliche as that may sound, it keeps my sanity. It keeps my head screwed on straight. So, I've dropped it. I'll tell you something else, too. One time I was going to work over a section, and somebody hit a cow or a deer. It was a big animal, is all I know. It was still guts on the road, and it was still fresh because it was still steaming. Without getting too graphic for you, warning graphic content, there was, it was all kinds of animal debris in the road. Let's just say that much. And it was fresh and it was hot. And I rode through it, and it got a little slippery. But, it splattered all up on me, too, going into work. So I had it all over me going into work. There wasn't nothing I could do. I couldn't go around it. It covered the road. It was a lot of it. So there was that. One time when I was going to work as well, I don't know why I did. I had a momentary lapse of reasoning and a brain fart. Some of y'all going to think that I'm on illicit drugs, but I went to park. I don't know if any of y'all ever done this. I went to park, and I don't know what happened that day. I just turned loose the bike and let it fall. I had the crash guards on it then. And, I picked it back up, stood it back up on the kickstand, cranked it up, put the kickstand up, dropped it again. I just turned loose of it for a second time. I didn't just do it once. I did it twice. I think that's where most of our stuff happens is when we go to park. I ran through some of these stories. I'll tell you another story. Randa, if you're out there, give me a holler. Put down in the comments down below. I took her home for about a month. She rode with me. Never been on a motorcycle. She was having some car trouble with her little Volkswagen Jetta. And of course, me, I bet chivalry ain't dead with me. I'll ask any lady. I ain't good looking, but I ain't shy. Remember, that's what Bob Seger told me. So she rode with me for a month. She's the only lady that actually ever rode a bunch with me. And she rode with me at night going home, and it was cold. It was still around 30 degrees around April of 22. And she was still riding. She rode with me, and I took her all the way clear across town and took her home every night, made sure she was safe. And she never did complain. The first time she was on the motorcycle with me, first time I talked her into it, like, hey, you gonna go on a ride with me? I just look scary, but I don't buy it much. She actually rode with me. First time she ever rode on, never been on a motorcycle, rode with me for 3 hours and 30 degrees. I forgot she was back there, honestly. A little bitty gal. And I asked her, I finally remembered, like, hey, I was enjoying myself because I get on the bike and I ride. And it was getting dark and it was getting cold in April. And I looked back and I stopped and I pulled over to the gas station. I said, you all right? She said, yeah, let's keep going. I got to make some encouragement, So she was the second passenger I've had on the bike. Of course, y'all seen Sheila, the laundress, rode on the bike, or you would have if the video was still there. But the first woman I took on the bike, she was also having car trouble, and also at the same job, happenstance. I quit this job, and then I ended up went back over, and then I got fired. But the first time I worked there was another woman, and I ain't gonna say anything bad about her, and I ain't gonna let nobody talk bad about her, because there was some good times with her, but there was some bad times as well. But it wasn't all bad. And she also needed to ride home, and I took her home, and she rode on my bike a couple of times as well. So, and that was the first time I ever took a passenger with her. And we won't mention her name because, but, it's painful. Let's just leave it at that. So I took her home first time I ever even had a passenger, and it was around June, and I just had started learning how to ride around April, May. And here comes June, and she needed to ride home, and she's the first woman I asked, like, she said, I need a ride home, and nobody would give her a ride home. I said, well, you can ride home with me, but all I got is a bike. So I thought, okay, let's go. And I never had a passenger on the bike before. Of course, she's a little bitty thing. She didn't weigh around 80, 90 pounds. She was a little bitty girl. And I took her home all the way on the other side of town as well. And we started hanging out from there, and she was on the bike a couple of times after that. But Randa's the only one that did ride it a whole bunch. So Randa, if you're out there, I don't know what happened to you, darling. Give me a comment. Leave me a comment if you happen to come across this video, because I don't know whatever happened to you. That's pretty much my bike stories. Sterling, I hope that you got some kind of entertainment. I hope the rest of you got some entertainment out of it. I was trying to think of any more. I told you about the muffler story. Oh, I didn't tell you about the manure story. I don't have any real good ones. I don't know how many times I've been nearly hit head on. I've lost count. I don't know how many times I've nearly been T-boned from people running stop signs. Stop signs in DeKalb County are merely just suggestions. They ain't gonna stop. Even the cops don't stop the stop signs down here. I think I'm the only one. But one time I got behind on this little narrow road going home, and there was a wet flatbed. There was a flatbed truck with wet manure. Wet manure. I live out in a rural area. I'll let y'all use your own imagination on what kind of manure. I just pray it wasn't human. It was splattering off the truck and onto me and onto the bike. They don't speak about that in the commercials now, do they? Oh, the freedom of the open road, live to ride, ride to live, get covered by manure. You don't actually ever see that one. But so I think I've told y'all all of them that I can't think of. If I ever think anymore, I could do another one of this. I've rode down to Gunnersville. I've had to break the back end loose. I've had to break back end of the motorcycle swing around on me. When I had a possum run out in front of me on a midnight love run. Oh, I thought of a deer story for you. One night I was going home from work, and we got off work around 2 o'clock in the morning. It was dark, and it was dew on the grass, and it was dew on the bike. And I was following in behind this little Nissan hard body pickup, and he seen out here in this S curves, there was about 30 deer out there. At least 10 to 30 of them. There's a bunch of them out here. There's a herd that came down out of the mountains and drank out of the pond out there, drank out of the creek. And he seen them and he panicked with his, truck. God forbid, riding in a cage. and he locked the brakes up. Now, I had two choices. I could either hit the back of his truck. I kept enough distance between us, but still, if by the time I slid to a stop, I was going to end up on his tailgate, probably through the back glass. May have broke my neck or crippled me. So I do all my own stunts, people. Don't do what I do. I went and left the road, went across the wet grass, slid sideways, Tokyo drift. I do all my own stunts. Don't let me tell you that I'm an experienced rider. I learned by doing things I shouldn't do. Experience as a teacher, and sometimes she's a harsh teacher. So I went between all these deers, and all these deers are standing there and looking at me like, what in the hell is this dumb hillbilly doing? Get out here between all of us, my old paw and all the little ones. I went right between all the deers. I went past all the dead stumps, all the dead logs, and between all the trees, and then jumped back up on the road. And it was like, well, it wasn't a big jump, wasn't like Dukes of Hazzard, but it was enough of a hill there that I popped back up on the road, got in front of him, went over there, parked, and then he come in, parked, and went into his apartment. Before he did, he's like, oh, I seen that, man. He's like, my bad. Yeah, you're bad. You could have broke my neck. Good thing I got situational awareness. I don't know if y'all do or not, but when I ride, and if I drive now, I rode a motorcycle enough that I'm not no expert, but it's made me more situationally aware. I pay attention to more things. I see things that other people don't see when you ride. It seems like you get telekinesis a little bit because you know what people's going to do, or at least you can anticipate what people's going to do before they do it. Mom was telling me, how did you know he was going to do that? I was like, I ride a motorcycle. She said, well, I would never know that. I was like, I can sort of tell what this idiot's going to do because motorcycles are pretty much invisible. Even with wearing that brake figure helmet light that I ain't sponsored, you're pretty much invisible. So that's been some road stories, and I hope y'all enjoyed, and I hope this camera recorded, and I hope it didn't record it in warp speed, and I hope it didn't record it low. I talk slow, I don't need any extra help. I ain't no Steven Spielberg, but you can nominate me for a YouTube Oscar. Y'all ride on, y'all ride safe. Y'all remember, friends and neighbors, it takes no more effort than tying your shoes to be nice to somebody. Dear Lord in heaven, please continue to look after us, bless us, guide us, keep us. Help us every day, Lord, to be instruments for you, and help us to do for you like you do for us, and show others the way. Thank you, Lord, for looking after us and our family. We thank you for all the abilities that we have and all the pleasures we take every day and all the blessings we get to partake in. I'll give you the praise, honor, and glory, Lord. And I thank you for looking out for me and those I care about, and all those that's hurting out there, Lord, that need your help and your guidance. I pray that you're there with them, and them that hasn't found you yet, Lord, I hope and pray that they turn towards you. Instead of turning towards the darkness, they turn towards the light and accept you as their Lord and Savior. I thank you, Lord, in your sweet and most precious heavenly holy name, my heavenly Father, my King, King, and my Lord, Lords. Amen. If I don't see you on this road, I'll see you on the next one. I hope this has been a good quality enough video for y'all. I hope y'all like it. Y'all, I've been on the screen. Y'all been the audience. These have been some road stories from the Hooligan Lifestyle brand of motorcycle channel. We thank you. Later, y'all.